Charleston, South Carolina, was a city that breathed history. Its cobblestone streets, antebellum houses, and moss-draped oaks gave it a timeless charm. On warm evenings, the scent of saltwater from the nearby harbor mingled with the sweetness of magnolia blossoms, and horse-drawn carriages clattered past candlelit restaurants serving shrimp and grits. But for Michael Turner, a 37-year-old construction manager, Charleston had begun to feel smaller with each passing day, suffocating, even. It was a Tuesday evening in late August when he first felt it. The house was too quiet. He stepped through the front door of their modest two-story home in West Ashley, dropping his keys into the ceramic bowl on the console table. Normally, he'd hear the hum of the TV or the clatter of pots in the kitchen. Tonight, there was only silence, heavy and still. "Claire," he called, his voice echoing faintly. No answer. Michael frowned, loosening his tie. His wife, Claire, usually greeted him with a tired but genuine smile, often a glass of sweet tea in hand. Lately, though, she'd been different. Distracted. Distant. He walked into the living room and spotted her purse on the couch, her phone half buried beneath a throw pillow. The sight gave him a strange, uneasy feeling. From upstairs, he finally heard movement, hurried footsteps, a door closing a second too quickly. "Hey, babe," she called, her voice a little too bright. "Just finishing up a shower." Michael glanced at the clock. It was nearly 8 p.m. Claire never showered this late. Something twisted in his gut. Claire had always been predictable. She thrived on routine, morning yoga, a strict skincare regimen, and meal-prepped lunches in color-coded containers. She worked as a marketing coordinator at a boutique design firm downtown, a job she'd landed 3 years ago. But lately, her patterns were unraveling. She started working late more often, claiming big projects were keeping her at the office. She began dressing differently, favoring sleek, form-fitting outfits instead of her usual casual sundresses. Even her perfume had changed, something more floral, expensive, and unfamiliar. Michael tried to ignore it at first. They'd been married for 8 years, together for 10. He didn't want to seem paranoid or controlling. But he couldn't shake the feeling that she was slipping away from him, one late night at a time. On Thursday, as he was grabbing beers with his friend Tom after work, he brought it up. "You think she's cheating?" Tom asked bluntly, raising an eyebrow over his pint. Michael grimaced. "I don't know. Maybe. Things feel off. She barely looks at me when we're talking. She's glued to her phone, always texting someone. And last night, she came home smelling like cologne." Tom whistled low. "That's rough, man. You sure you're not imagining it?" Michael shook his head. "I wish I were." Tom clapped him on the shoulder. "Look, if it were me, I'd keep my eyes open. Don't accuse her without proof, but don't ignore the signs either." Michael nodded, though his stomach churned. Proof. That word lodged in his mind like a splinter. Saturday morning, Michael suggested they go to the Charleston farmers market, something they used to love doing together. Claire hesitated, then smiled too quickly. "I'd love to, but I promised Sarah I'd help her move some stuff into her new apartment." Michael blinked. "Sarah? I thought she moved last month." Claire froze for half a second, then laughed. "Oh, right, different Sarah. From work." The lie was clumsy, and Michael felt it immediately. "Okay," he said slowly. "Want me to come help?" "No," she said too sharply. Then she softened her tone. "I mean, it's just girl stuff. You'd be bored." He kissed her cheek before she left, inhaling the unfamiliar perfume again. As he watched her drive away, a pit formed in his stomach. Instead of going to the farmer's market, Michael got in his truck and followed her at a discreet distance. Claire didn't drive toward downtown or Sarah's supposed new place. Instead, she headed toward the outskirts of the city, near a cluster of hotels by the interstate. Michael's hands tightened on the steering wheel. His heart pounded as he watched her pull into the parking lot of a Holiday Inn Express. She parked near the back, far from the entrance, and sat in her car for a moment, checking her phone. A few minutes later, a black SUV pulled up beside her. A man stepped out, tall, broad-shouldered, maybe early 40s. Even from a distance, Michael could tell this wasn't a coworker helping with girl stuff. Claire got out of her car and walked straight into the man's arms. Michael felt like the air had been sucked out of his lungs. He gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles went white. His wife kissed the stranger, passionately, intimately, like she hadn't kissed Michael in months. For a moment, he couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Then rage burned through him like wildfire. Michael's first instinct was to storm out of the truck, drag her away from the man, demand answers. But something stopped him, a strange, cold clarity. If he confronted her now, she'd deny everything. Maybe claim it was a mistake, or twist it into being his fault. No. He needed to be smarter than that. He drove away, shaking, his vision blurred with tears. That night, Claire came home late, humming softly as she set down her purse. She kissed his cheek and smiled like nothing had happened. Michael wanted to scream. Instead, he forced a smile and asked about her day. Exhausting, she said, kicking off her heels. Sarah had way too many boxes. I think I pulled a muscle. The lie was so smooth it almost sounded real. Michael stared at her, memorizing every detail, the way she avoided his eyes, the faint smudge of lipstick at the corner of her mouth. He didn't say a word. Over the next 2 weeks, Michael became a ghost in his own life. He went to work, came home, and watched his marriage disintegrate in slow motion. Claire's excuses piled up. Late nights at work. Weekend errands with friends he'd never met. She guarded her phone like it held state secrets, turning it face down whenever he walked by. Michael started losing sleep. He lay awake at night, staring at the ceiling, replaying every memory of their marriage. He thought about the early days, the way Claire used to laugh with her whole body, the nights they spent walking along the Battery, dreaming about the future. Had it all been a lie? One night, he woke up to find Claire slipping out of bed at 2 a.m., tiptoeing into the bathroom. He pretended to be asleep, heart racing, as he heard the soft click of her phone camera, and then the unmistakable sound of a message being sent. The next morning, he checked her phone while she showered. It was locked. The betrayal felt like a physical blow. Desperate, Michael reached out to a private investigator named Harris. The man was blunt, middle-aged, with a voice like gravel. Most of my cases are exactly like this, Harris said. People don't change their patterns much. If she's cheating, we'll know within a week. True to his word, Harris delivered. On Thursday night, Michael sat in his truck outside a diner while Harris slid a folder across the seat. Inside were photos, grainy but unmistakable. Claire, arm in arm with the man from the SUV. Claire, checking into the same Holiday Inn room multiple times. Claire, laughing, her head tilted back in a way Michael hadn't seen in years. His name's Daniel Reed, Harris said. Divorced, works in real estate. They've been seeing each other for at least 3 months. Michael stared at the photos until the world blurred. Thanks, he croaked. No problem, Harris said. You want me to keep digging? Michael shook his head. No. I've seen enough. The next day, Michael went through the motions at work like a man sleepwalking. By evening, his anger had crystallized into something sharp and cold. When Claire came home, he kissed her cheek like always and asked about her day. She smiled, oblivious, and told him a story about a stressful client at work. Michael smiled back, his decision already made. He spent the weekend preparing. On Sunday, he suggested they have a romantic dinner at home, just the two of them. Claire seemed pleasantly surprised. She wore a soft blue dress he'd always loved and opened a bottle of wine while he cooked steak and roasted vegetables. They ate, laughed, reminisced about old vacations. For a moment, Michael almost believed they could fix things. Almost. After dinner, he handed her a small envelope. "Got something for you." She blinked. "What is it?" "Open it." Inside were the photos Harris had given him. Claire's face drained of color. "Michael, I don't," he said, his voice cutting like glass. "Don't you dare lie to me again." Tears welled in her eyes. "It's not what it looks like." "It's exactly what it looks like," he snarled. "How long, Claire?" She crumpled, sobbing. 3 months. Michael's chest constricted. He turned away, fists clenched so hard his nails dug into his palms. "I loved you," Michael said, his voice breaking. "I built a life for us. And you threw it away for him?" Claire reached for him, but he jerked back. "I never meant to hurt you. It just happened." He laughed bitterly. "People don't just accidentally check into hotel rooms." "I was lonely," she whispered. "You've been so focused on work, on everything else. Daniel made me feel seen." Michael's vision went red. "So you burned our marriage to the ground because I wasn't giving you enough attention?" Claire sobbed harder, collapsing onto the couch. "Please, don't leave me." But Michael was already walking toward the door. "Divorce papers will be on the table by Monday," he said coldly. "And Claire?" She looked up, eyes wide with fear. "Give Daniel my regards." 2 months later, Michael stood on the battery, watching the sun rise over Charleston harbor. The divorce was finalized. Claire had moved out of state, and Daniel was just a bitter footnote in Michael's past. The pain was still there, sharp, lingering, but beneath it was a strange, quiet relief. He'd lost his marriage, but he'd kept his dignity. And in a city as old and storied as Charleston, there was always the promise of rebuilding. As the first rays of sunlight broke over the water, Michael allowed himself a small, weary smile. He was free.